So my darling Patsy has settled into her new home and she's very calm, very relaxed. I do still need to keep her on a little lead when she's outside, but I'll talk about that later on in the video and explain why. She's an absolute dote. I adore her. I mean, I just don't know what I did before I had her. Yes, a little bird has taken up occupation in a nest that I'd found in the garden some months ago and just placed on top of the cotoneaster down there at the end of the veranda. Now, I have noticed this little birdie because I've been coming in and out, going along this way, you see, to the barn to get wood for the stove. And every time I've gone down that way, the little bird's flown out. But this morning I thought, what I'll do, I'll take a bit of a circuitous route around this way to the barn. And so look, there she is. Just do a little close-up again of her. Lots and lots of grapes. Quite an incredible harvest. There's probably about somewhere between, I don't know, 50 and 80 small bunches of grapes. These will turn black. Very sweet. Well, for starters, there's been a lot of tidying up and clearing up here in the barn and stacking of wood. And this, of course, is for the coming winter. And over there, lots and lots of kindling. A lot more tidying to do, and a massive amount of cutting back out here in the gardens. I've been pruning all these bushes and shrubs and just allowing a clearer view through there. The flowers continue to bloom, and we've got the sedums coming up there. They're going to turn pink. Probably next month sometime. Lunasa begins at the end of this month, on the very last day, the 31st. It begins on the eve. So 31st is the eve of Lunasa. And the month of August, of course, is Lunasa. And it recognises what is in fact the first month of harvest, because harvests go on for 3 months. In fact, harvesting here in the west of Ireland goes on for much of the year, whether you're harvesting food or harvesting fuel. You know, it's all a harvest. You can hear the cows in the background. There's cows on the neighbour's field. I love it when little wild herbs like Herb Robert begin to just spill over and take over and create this lovely lush density around man-made things like this little bench. And this is the beautiful Perscaria superba. A lot of people mistake this for the dreaded Japanese knotweed, which of course it's not. And it does flower round about the end of July. Let's go on a wee bit further. This is the beautiful Montbretia. And the Montbretia was a little plant that got imported to Ireland over 100 years ago. I think its origins may lie in South Africa, not too sure, but it was somewhere with a fairly good climate. And of course, because the climate here is a temperate one, it just flourishes. And the Montbretia crocosmia, which is this, of course, it's the wild one as we now call it. It grows in all the hedgerows in Ireland, especially near the west coast. This beautiful plant was imported via what we called the big houses. And the big houses, of course, were the English landlords, and they had magnificent houses. And fortunately for us today, one of the positive things to take out of it, and there wasn't a lot, but the positive thing was, of course, their love of plants. So we've inherited, really just through accident in many ways, some of these incredible plants, including fuchsia, by the way. Yeah, beautiful. And the apples continue to expand and develop here in the apple trees. Not a huge harvest this year, and I do need to start cutting back some of the summer growth, because you can see there's great big long bits going up there, which you cut back, I think. It's either by 1/3 or 2/3. I'll have to check on that. I'm not hugely, great at pruning apple trees. I don't know why. I have a sort of a nervousness, I think, because I think maybe I'm doing the wrong thing. And most of my gardening, of course, has been very intuitive. So apple trees are a little bit of a mystery to me. Not too familiar with them. Clearing the pathways has been an ongoing project for at least the past month, if not longer. I think the clearing becomes sort of desperate about twice a year. You really have to get in there and do a fair bit of hard work. Of course it's worth it, because then you can walk through the woodlands, through the woodland gardens. Now Patsy, for the moment, is very much featured inside the cottage because she's a little bit of a rascal for doing little runarounds, and I call her and it might be 3 or 4 minutes before she comes back. So I have to be quite careful, because any of you who know anything about these little Jack Russells will be aware of the fact that if they see something that they're interested in chasing, it becomes very obsessional and they're inclined just to kind of bolt, And I think a lot of dogs are actually lost that way. When dogs are picked up on the side of the road and they're looking sad and confused, I think it's mostly because they've bolted, and then they've ended up in an area that's not familiar to them, and consequently they become lost. So for the moment, I'm not letting her off the lead. I have tried it, and it's caused me a lot of anxiety. So I just have to be a wee bit patient and let her get truly acclimatised to her surroundings. It's been extremely wet here in Ireland over the past 2 weeks. We've had flooding, localised flooding, and just continual downpours. Today is actually the first day that's been relatively dry. So it's just a nice time to make a video, because believe me, it's been almost impossible over the past 2 weeks to make a video. The rain has been that persistent. You can see some of the wood, look, which I've pulled out from up there where I have more apple trees. This wood is all going to be logged and put down in the barn, which is down there, look, with the rest of the logs for the winter, because that was cut last year, so it should be quite weathered, just needs to be dried out. So cutting back on all the hedges has also been a task that I've been involved in over the past few days. Again, just waiting for a dry period in which to do this. And You can see the finished work. I've actually got to get up to the stone circle, which is along there, and cut the grass in the middle of it. So I'll be doing that today. And I want to show you, let me see, now that's the old hen house. These are, well, this is lime tree and this is a green beech. But I want to show you the size of the Irish oak, which you don't normally get a full view of. So the Irish oak is along there. But if we look up onto the skyline, it actually is that big. Look, all the way around. It's massive. Absolutely massive. One of the biggest trees here in the property, as are the other Irish oaks that I've planted. Still a fair bit of wood in the old hen house, which of course will be moved down to the barn. That's another task. I think I've got a growing list of tasks, which seems to go on forever. Oh, well, I can't say I'm ever bored. As a published author, my books are available only from my website, bealtainecottage.com. A Cottage in 3 Acres is my first book, In Search of the Goddess Rising, which is all about the goddess culture in the Celtic tradition. My third book, Walking Between Worlds, which is an exploration of betwixt and between, living in the west of Ireland. And this lovely little booklet, the Bealtaine Cottage Guide to the Deep Midwinter.